Hello and welcome to the 10th week for your library and academic skills. So we have exactly 2 weeks to go. So these library and academic skills are going to be spread over 2 weeks. So there's going to be a part one and then there's going to be a part two. So part one, then we're going to start looking at more the library side or the library skills of the library and academic skills sections. And this is basically going to be a preview or a taster of what's going to come. So be prepared for your lesson to have some really interesting ideas that are going to come about, to be able to kind of explore your journey a lot more and go a little bit deeper into your library and academic skills, maybe than what a lot of you are comfortable with doing. But I can definitely guarantee you that this will be a very beneficial journey for everybody. So the first part then is what we're going to be looking at is these learning objectives. So we're going to list a variety of purposes that a library holds, list different resources found in a library, give examples of services that exist in the library, collect information for your resource record, which we'll be looking at later on, compare the roles of different libraries, examine what academia means to you, construct a reflective identity, and finally evaluate your journey over the 2 hours. So these 2 hours, of course, are referring to the 2 hours that you're going to be spending with your teacher, actually doing the workshops and the activities, which I guarantee that if you miss out on it, you will miss out on a lot. This is probably the most important part of this whole journey of this module, because this brings everything together that you've learned. All the different bits of information all finally going to come together into one big block, and everything that you see here is not everything that you're going to be taught in the lesson. So based on the feedback that you've given, some of you wanted more challenges, some of you wanted these sessions to be longer, some of you wanted it to be shorter. So I've taken a lot of the feedback that's coming from the mid-module review, and this is what you've got, hopefully something that's much more enlightening for all of you. So first thing is then, what is a library? Now this might seem a little bit trivial, but there are actually 5 main components for a library. The first one is the most obvious, which is the collection of organized resources. However, libraries also have information professionals, okay? And these keep the resources organized. They also have targeted services or programs. They also have a mission of educating, informing, and entertaining. And finally, they have a goal of stimulating individual learning and advancing society as a whole. So in your workshop, you'll be exploring all these 5 different areas in a lot more detail. Now, there are 4 types of libraries that render specific needs. The first one is the academic library. Now, this academic library is attached to an institution such as a school, a college, or a university. And the main purpose of it is to serve students by providing the maximum amount of learning materials that they will require for their course. The second type of library is called a special library. Now, this just serves a particular group of people, such as government employees, or it could be a library that somebody has in their house. The third type of library is the public library. These are the ones that you find kind of on high streets or in town centres. They're normally accessible to everybody and funded by the tax money that we all pay. And they are operated by civil servants. And finally, we have national libraries. These are kind of like the treasures of the country. They're established by the governments of the country, and they preserve the literature that occurs for that country, either within or outside of the country. So if somebody, like let's say a Birmingham-based Brummie, he's made an amazing piece of work, but he lives now in China, they will still be able to preserve that kind of work in the National Library. Now, there is the House of Wisdom. Now, the House of Wisdom is one of the old, most original libraries, and I would like you to watch this video in your lesson, okay? So that's one of the things that are going to come up in your lesson, the House of Wisdom. It's a really interesting, it was a cornerstone of education in its time. Everyone from all around the world used to flock to this particular library, and the history behind it will really show you how far people have come in order to preserve the knowledge that we have today, and how far other people have come to try and destroy that knowledge. And just to give you a little bit of a historical perspective into the evolution of libraries and where they've come today. Now, what can you do at a library? So here is a list of actions that you can do at a normal library, such as borrow resources, get help from a librarian, book rooms to study, loan a laptop sometimes, attend self-improvement workshops, research new topics, and much more. Okay, so this is general for any kind of library that you would attend, and these are the kind of things that you might be doing there. And then what can you do at the university library? Now this gets a little bit more specific. The university library has a lot of services. These are the most beneficial. If you haven't seen it yet, that's what the university library looks like. And inside it's a lot nicer. It's a really peaceful space, and what you can do in there is take out resources or view them online. That's one of the first things. And then you can find subject specific resources. Okay, you can access worldwide databases. So the university has purchased the rights to a lot of these databases. You can access Skills for Learning, which we'll look at in a bit more detail later on. You've also got the Browsine. This is an online journal platform that has thousands and thousands, maybe even millions of journals on there. That's spread across all different kinds of topics. And then you have the ability to book rooms, you have the ability to loan laptops, and so much more. You also can get specific academic help from these librarians. You can attend workshops, and there's a lot more things that you can do at the university library. So it really is a cornerstone. It's like the middle ground for education. Without the library, I think there was a quote that we skipped where it said that a library can survive without a university, but a university cannot survive without a library. So the library is really the center of the university, and everything else kind of stems around it. Resource, source, and reference. So what am I talking about here? Now, we know what resources are. We've had a brief look at what the resources are. You're going to go into a lot more detail with your teachers in the workshop, but you know, there could be books, journals, articles, videos. So in your lesson, be prepared to list at least 4 more of these resources. There's 12 plus different types of resources that you could access. Now, if we take the word resource and remove the prefix re, and we end up with the word source. Now, sources are the backbone of your writing. So this is how the library skills kind of interlink with your academic skills. It's this bit here. Sources are the backbone of your writing. They provide real proofs. They provide handheld, touchable proofs, okay, which we're going to talk about later on. But it's really important to keep a record of these resources as they become your references. We're going to do an activity in your workshops called the resource record activity, and make sure when you do this activity, you keep your resource record safe in a safe place. Now, you have the skillsforstudy.com website. Now, this is another feature that the university has opted in to. What you can do on this website is you can log in with your university details. If you go onto the university library page, which we'll be looking at as one of the workshops later, you can actually access the Skills for Study directly. And what you can do on there's loads of course and loads of different advice to help you improve within university. All you need is your login details, and there's a video that you'll be able to watch in your workshop with your teacher that kind of just shows you what this is really about. Shows you how lively this kind of thing is. It's not dull, it's not boring, it's really contemporary and modern, etc, etc. And it helps students right from the beginning of their journey, kind of like where some of you are now, to more advanced, kind of like towards your PhD level, etc. So it's really a comprehensive experience at the same time. Now, there's an activity called the Helpful Library, which I'd like you to do. So the first thing is to go to wlv.ac.uk/lib, or what's short for library. Scroll down until you get to the What We Offer section, and there'll be a link called Skills for Learning. Okay. Then after Skills for Learning, select Workshops, and then after Workshops, book an online workshop for Harvard referencing. So this is your task for this week, to book this online workshop for Harvard referencing. We are going to go over this again. Sorry about that for the camera. We are going to go over this again in your lesson. However, I want you for now to book an online workshop for Harvard referencing, and there's many more workshops that you can book yourself onto in order to become a master of this academic world. It's not as scary as it seems, it's not as bad as it seems. There really is just kind of like 4 or 5 different things that if you can get your head around and understand, the whole world of academia becomes very simple. So what is this whole world of academia? What am I talking about? Now, I talk about the world of academia, so let's take a look at a globe. Okay, now this represents the world of knowledge. Let's say all the knowledge in the world is compressed into this globe. Okay, what academia does is it builds individuals to think critically. Okay, now we'll talk about critical thinking in part 2 of library and academic skills next week. But it builds individuals to think critically. Critical thinking individuals, they develop new ideas. Now these new ideas, they start to contribute more to this world of knowledge, and this process is repeated generation after generation, hence expanding this world of knowledge. So academia is essentially revolving around this world of knowledge. Now, to really understand it, let's go from the end goal and work backwards. The ultimate goal is to produce these individuals that will be effective leaders in their chosen professions. They'll be kind of like the front line of that profession. Now, this leadership experience stems into three things. It stems into intellectual self-improvement, it stems into physical self-improvement, and also the aesthetic realm. Now, these could also delve into different kinds of academia. For example, intellectual could be something like your maths or your core subjects. Your physical could be something like your physics or your physical education subjects, and your aesthetic realms would be something like your design and your art subjects. And as a result, the individuals, they develop qualities that make them good citizens, first of all, so that they can appreciate the hard work that goes into it. They can appreciate commitment. They can work harder to perform better. They will also learn to recognize, respect, and understand cultural diversity, because you start to become more open-minded to the world, more open-minded to what's going on. And finally, you learn to recognize the implication of what you believe in. So not only do you have an active role in what you believe, but you also be able to recognize how that affects other people. And this really stems into the whole respect and cultural diversity a lot. Now, most importantly, the end goal then is to lead for every single person, because at the end of the day, everyone has to do it independently. The end goal is to have independent and purposeful lifelong learning, so that you can spend your whole life learning, improving, evolving, but at the same time, you're adding to this whole world of knowledge that exists. Now that we know what academia is, what is an academic then? When we talk about academic skills, what are we really talking about as an academic? So let's get a little bit more specific. If we go back to this world of knowledge, then academic is an individual within this world. So the one person that sits on this world of knowledge that tries to improve it, that's called an academic. Now, the academic should possess skills that are transferable and unique. So every single academic will have different skills that are suitable to them. However, there's some general skills that every single academic should have. And these skills should be transferable. So it means that just because this is called academic skills and it's all about knowledge, but this knowledge can transfer into all different areas of your life. It's not about just one thing. It's not about just learning how to read or learning how to write. No, you can learn how to read, but then you can learn how to read, self-improvement books or mind altering books, or books that can have huge impact on you, but books that can improve kind of your life. If you're into business, if you're into art, whatever you're into, these skills are going to be transferable and unique. So you're not only learning something that you can just apply to one thing so you can go and get a degree. No, these principles really are transferable to anything. Now, we did study already some of these skills, as a lot of my colleagues are putting a lot of effort into showing you. So what I want to say is that the rest of these skills are what we're going to be looking at basically this week and next week. Okay. Academic skills then. So there's many academic skills that you should have, but here is the main 9. First one is finance skills. So we're going to go into each one of these in a lot more detail during the workshop. Okay, first one is finance skills. Second one is your IT skills, which you might recognize we've already done. Third one is choosing a subject of interest. This is extremely vital, and we'll explain why in your workshop. The fourth one is a comprehension of the allocated task. So basically being able to understand what is being asked of you. The fifth one is choosing a topic of interest. Now this must be interesting to you, and again we'll talk about this later on. The sixth one is organizing and managing time. This is vital, and again, this is one of the workshops that we've already done. And then you've got the seventh one, which is research skills. Research skills is huge. So being able to, how can you contribute to this world? Well, you have to find out what is in this world. So this involves critical thinking, this involves critical reading, this involves explanation skills, and finally analytical thinking skills. And all these skills will come together and will really build the research skills that you have. The eighth one is referencing skills, so being able to reference correctly. So again, this we're talking about sources, resources, referencing, if you remember that. So again, we'll explore all of these things in part 2. And finally, it's your writing skills, which you've touched upon. My colleague Shona has produced, a really good, outline for you in terms of what your writing skills should have in terms of spelling and grammar and punctuation, and getting your message across in the right way. But we want to take this to the next level, okay? And we're going to take that to the next level, hopefully next throughout your workshop. So this is just a brief outline then of what's to come. Okay, so we're going to go into each one of these areas in a lot more detail inside your workshops. But for now, I want to tell you what's coming up next week. Okay, so that's the end of today. You've only got one activity to remember, which is right down below this video. And that activity is for you to, I'll just review it quickly for you just so that we're all on the same page. Is for you to go on to www.wlv.ac.uk/lib or lib. Scroll down until you reach what we offer. It's like a little section, and then there's going to be a button called Skills for Learning. Click that, scroll down again, select workshops, and book an online workshop for Harvard referencing. Don't worry, if you don't know what Harvard referencing is, it'll be a lot clearer to you either by the end of next week, or it'll be a lot clearer to you by watching or attending this workshop. Okay, there's also a lot of other workshops that I would encourage you all to go through. Now, next week we're going to be looking at specifically then comprehension of the allocated tasks. We're going to be looking at choosing a topic of interest, which must be interesting to you. So again, when I say next week, I mean, the week, I mean part 2 of academic skills. So part 1 workshop is coming up as the next few sessions, but then part 2 is going to be the week after that. So this is what we're going to be looking at in a week after that. Choosing a topic of interest. Research skills, very important, very critical. Critical thinking skills, remember facts are power. Critical reading skills, explanation skills, analytical thinking skills, referencing skills, and writing skills. So as you can see, these are all very important. And finally, you're going to have your assignment brief. Okay, so this is kind of like the big finale, the final assignment, that you're going to put all the knowledge that you learned in this module, you're going to make it all come together in a beautiful way, merge it all together, and produce the best piece of work that you've produced in your life so far. So don't miss out on the workshops this week. Okay, they're extremely vital, extremely important, both part 1 and part 2. You're going to have, there's going to be so much inside it. Some of the experiences that you're going to have could even be life-changing, and I really mean it. So I want you to kind of focus, come to it with the right attitude, be prepared to improve yourself, be prepared to take on new challenges, and really feel like, this is your time. This is all about you. We're just trying to empower you. We're trying to improve you in as much possible ways as we can. And by mastering these skills, you can, again, these are transferable. You can apply them to anywhere in your life. So I'll see you all on the workshops, okay? And thank you very much for watching this week's workshop.